Board. Okay. That way we can go ahead and we're going to send this out whenever this is done to the entire enterprise. So that way those who were not able to attend today will be able to still partake in some of the professional development. I know I've gotten a lot of emails from folks who weren't going to be able to make it, just asking if we can please record it and send it out to the field. So that's what we plan on doing. So today we are incredibly fortunate to have Mr. Stephen Parchman and Mrs. Amy Manis and their team of experts from the Lackland Military and Family Readiness Center here to give us today's brief. So at this time, I'm going to go ahead and turn it over. If there's no questions, I'm going to turn it over to Mr. Parchman and Ms. Manis so we can get the brief started.
All righty, good day. Glad to have you all here with us. I can't turn on my camera. It worked yesterday, but for some strange reason, it's not working today. But that's all right, because we got the awesomeness of Ms. Amy Manis, Ms. Samantha Domingo, and Mr. Ray Domingo, and they are awesome. So they will be presenting this, and every now and then I'll chime in, but I'll also be looking in the chat as well to see if you all have any questions, comments, or concerns. So please, input your information or whatever questions or comments that you may have. Also, we do have other classes here for employment. I am the CCE here for employment. Miss Amy Manis is my awesome colleague that provide assistance as well. She was the CCE, but she still helped me out a great deal, and I really appreciate everything that she do. But we do conduct resume reviews and a whole plethora of employment or even networking. We have a lot of networking events as well. So without further ado, I'm going to go ahead and turn it over to Ms. Amy Manis.
Thank you, Stephen. I think the magic word for today is awesomeness. That's cool. Well, welcome everybody. Today, we're going to review LinkedIn and all the magic that can happen on LinkedIn. I would like to introduce Mr. Raymond Domingo and his spouse, Samantha Domingo. They are recruiters, and I'll let them introduce themselves. Would you like to do that now, Ray?
Yeah, no, definitely. And ladies first. I'll let Sam introduce first.
He would do that. Hello, everyone. Thank you so much for having us today. Amy, your hair looks great, by the way. But we're really excited and pumped to be here. My name is Samantha Domingo. You can call me Sam. I am very passionate about LinkedIn and the benefits it can bring our military community when it comes to either pivoting in your career or finding employment prior to a PCS or a transition from the military. So absolutely honored and humbled to have been invited. I'm pretty active on LinkedIn, probably not as active as Ray. Currently, I am a military technical recruiter for the Amazon Web Services Military Apprenticeship Program, another program I'm super, super passionate about. Essentially, if you're looking to pivot in your career into tech, maybe you've gone through a coding boot camp, maybe you've been acquiring some technical certifications through Onward to Opportunity, whatever it may be. This is a great program specifically dedicated to our military community. That's transitioning military, veterans, Guard, reservists, and military spouses to include military spouses of veterans like myself. My background, I've worked with a few different companies as a technical recruiter, one being USAA, which is very popular here in San Antonio and amongst our community. Another being now named Rackspace Technology. And I've also worked in the staffing industry as well. With the specialty of technical and military being my passion. So I will pass it over to Ray. All I can say is I love seeing so many people on today. I wish we would have had this when Ray transitioned out of the military because it was less than graceful. But I probably wouldn't be doing what I'm doing now if we hadn't went through the things that we did. So I will pass the mic on over to Ray, and thank you for having us.
Perfect. Thank you. Yeah, again, like Sam was saying, thank you for having us. Ray Domingo, I joined the Air Force way back in the days. I was a cop and then changed my job to electrician. And then my last 12 years, I was a recruiter. So the transition was extremely tough. Like Sam was saying, it took me 7 months to find a job. When when I first heard about LinkedIn, I was very hesitant on getting started because I thought it was too professional. I'm like, no, I'm not getting on there, right? And then as I slowly learned about LinkedIn, started posting about what I learned, I started getting traction, getting followers, folks connecting with me, and we'll definitely talk about that later on in when we get started. It's been an amazing tool for me because you have the ability to brand yourself for free and connect with folks that you won't possibly have an opportunity to connect with. Maybe they're across the United States to where you can't physically meet them in person. So definitely utilize LinkedIn. It's been an amazing tool. Like I said, after I transitioned from the Air Force, retired 2015 November. Took me 7 months to find a job. My first recruiting job as a civilian was with Wyndham Vacation Ownership, and then from there I recruited for USAA. And then from USAA, I recruited for Manpower Group. Within Manpower Group, I recruited for about 4 different companies. It was Elbit Systems America, KMC Systems, and like Gulfstream and another one I can't really remember. I recruited for so many companies basically. So after that, I actually recruited for Experis IT, for Accenture, HP, JP Morgan. After that, I recruited for F5 Networks, and now I'm recruiting for Lockheed Martin. And Lockheed Martin full time. Previously, my other recruiting roles, I was a contractor, so I have so many great experience. And I try my best to share it doing presentations or on LinkedIn because combined with my experience and Samantha's experience, we have so much experience as far as civilian recruiting and also what to look for in a candidate. And we also have experience, as a candidate. So again, thank you for having us, and we're excited to be part of this presentation.
Great. Well, thank you both very much for being here and joining us. All right, next slide, please. Stephen, you're the driver, yes? Great. Well, as we briefly explained today, we're going to just have this presented to you in 2 parts. The first part is just reviewing the anatomy of LinkedIn, what it takes to build a complete profile. And then we'll review some people or groups that you can instantly get connected with on LinkedIn to begin to grow that network. That's really where the magic lies in LinkedIn, is how you use it. But we're going to begin with the first step and learn the process of building that network. Now, by a show of hands, if you are able to use that tool on your screen, just want to know right now, how many of you have a LinkedIn account or profile that maybe you have started? Or great, okay, a few of you. Okay, all right. So that's good. That's the first step. So now let's just dive in and talk about how to complete that profile and make it work for you. All right. This here is my URL. I customized my URL so it's easy to remember. Please reach out to me. I will connect with you. And you can kind of scroll through my profile as we kind of talk through the different parts. All right, next slide, please. So what is LinkedIn? Well, at first it looks pretty simple to use, but it definitely takes some time and effort on your part to make it to the level that you will actually be able to begin to leverage your network and your contacts. So it definitely is a place for professional dialogue, engagement, learning opportunities, a place to build a business, to grow your network, and a way to stay informed with the top influencers in a variety of industry. Now, I always give this example because you never know sometimes who might be out there waiting to have a conversation with you. And this happened a few years ago. I was able to, I got a message directly from somebody who works in my career field at the very top level of government at the Pentagon. And she reached out and wanted to know all about this reverse career fair event that we were having here at Lackland. And so I was able to privately have a conversation with her. Now, of course, I had to go back and tell my chain of command who reached out to me, but that is the power that LinkedIn brings to you at the individual level. With that, what occurred is she sent her team down and they observed our amazing event. And we actually got that event on the map. Now, I'm not the birther of that event. I will give credit where credit is due. That came from Scott Air Force Base and Mr. Scott Rather, who is the Employment Readiness Program Manager up there. But that's how wonderful, LinkedIn can be. You just never know. So you always want to make sure that you are sharing your information in the most professional light as possible, right? So that is what LinkedIn, really the power behind it. Next slide. So to begin, you want to have a picture. Why? When we scroll through our LinkedIn profiles, of course, the profiles that have an image attached to them are going to be tapped into more frequently than if you did not have a picture. And plus it leaves a question in the mind of the observer if there isn't a picture attached. So our suggestion is take a picture, upload it, and put that on your profile. It doesn't have to be a professional picture at all. It can be a simple picture from shoulders up and with a nice background, and very simple to do. But definitely the suggestion or the advice is to put a picture on there. And if you're in military and you're getting ready to transition, wear civilian attire to give that indication that you are ready to return into civilian life. All right, next slide. So the next part is your background. There are several ways that you can add a background that is relevant to what you do or what your goal is. One of the ways is to go on to canva.com. You can use that for free and choose from their selection of backgrounds. You can do a simple search in their website and select one that speaks to you or that is relevant to what it is you actually do or want to do. Keeping in mind what your goal is for using LinkedIn. Another website is pixpay.com. Similar to Canva, you can do a simple search for an industry and select from the variety of images that are there. And I do suggest doing this. These images are already, legally available for you to use. So take advantage of those websites to get some background image. LinkedIn will, of course, give you a generic background. But this just adds a little bit more jazz to your profile at first glance, and it's free. So why not take advantage of that? You begin to build that brand, that professional image when you do this simple task. The next part is the headline. It might be the most important piece because this gives a description of what your credentials are, what your goal is, what your skills are. So you can write, and I'll give some examples here in a moment, some words to share with people who are searching you or looking through LinkedIn. Give them an indication of what it is you want to do, what it is you do, and what your skills are. Anything extra you can incorporate into your profile as well. These are articles or videos or any special projects. You can also include that in your profile. And it just makes it a little more interesting, a little more complete for others when they are reading about you. And then you see the word keywords. Throughout your profile, it's important to keep in mind keywords of the industry that you work in, of the industry that you're hoping to work in, keywords that boost your profile image and overall content. This becomes important when you're doing searches for positions on LinkedIn, and it helps with that to build that out. And we'll talk a little bit about passive job searching. That's where that comes into play. Next slide.
Miss Amy,
Yes.
just one quick thing. This is Sar Morales. We have a hand up. Michael Ferguson, sir, is your hand up for a question, or was it just up from when Miss Manis asked the question?
It's not for a question. It was just raising that I do have a LinkedIn account.
Roger
Great.
that. Okay, thank you.
All right. The next part on your profile is the summary, or it's labeled the About You section. This is just a space for you to kind of speak a little bit more about your accomplishments, your goals, anything else you want to share. I always try to explain this area as what isn't on your resume, right? Use LinkedIn to enhance your resume rather than dropping your resume on this into this part of LinkedIn or even the experience section. So this just gives you an area to speak more about what you're really great at and what you've done. The experience section, as I just mentioned, not a place for the resume, but maybe the place where you get to talk about all of those accomplishments that you've done in previous positions. Of course, you don't have to list it all out like you do on a resume, but it's very helpful to kind of give that overview, to show the length, the depth, the breadth, and the trajectory of your career thus far. So think about using those two spaces in that way. Education. I love to see what areas that have been studied, credentials you are seeking. And then this is a great place to then also reach out to your alum, whatever that is, wherever that is, to begin to grow your network here. Include certifications, the schools, the specialized training, all of that in that space there. So it starts to look somewhat like a resume, and guess what? It can certainly be created into a resume. But you know, think about all of the stuff you've done in addition to what is on your resume. Now, I spoke earlier on that first slide about customizing your URL. And what I'll tell you about that is it makes it very easy then to use your LinkedIn URL at the top line of your resume. And if your email and your LinkedIn URL are similar, well, then that begins to be part of your branding story. So then nobody can mistaken you for somebody else. It's your name in your email as well as on your URL. It just looks seamless at the top of your resume. So that's a good tip. All right, next slide. All right, so once you've completed the profile, then there are a few other additional items we're going to talk about. Definitely the skills section, endorsements, extras, and then how to engage with others and how to connect. That all becomes a part of your full and complete profile. So next slide. So let's talk first about pictures and images. So like I mentioned, more likely than not to get some traction, to get somebody looking at your LinkedIn profile and connecting with you. Next slide. So here are some great examples. And they also took into account the full background. The one at the top left, you can probably guess without reading too much of his headline what industry he is in. But he is wearing a suit and tie. And again, it's just from the chest up. Nothing fancy in the background, clean and crisp and very professional. The middle one is a civil service employee. She actually is a colleague of mine. And so that is her professional civilian picture that she used. And then she also has in the background some glitter. Why? That just speaks to her personality. So that is why she selected that. And then on the far right, we have an employee, just a headshot from Amazon Web Services. And so she chose to use their image in the background. So you know instantly, you recognize instantly where she works and who she represents. All right, next slide, please. So let's talk now a little about the headline. Those are those words that are located right below your name or right next to your name. So think about this little simple formula or template when you are creating your headline. Who are you? What do you do? What are you great at? And you can always choose to use some of those alt key code symbols to separate out words and phrases. So a simple thing to do, what your current position is, what your top traits are, and then your responsibilities, just to get started. And of course, keeping in mind, peppering throughout your profile, those important keywords. All right, slide. So some headline examples for you could be one of these three. All right. And again, always keeping in mind what those all important keywords are. And next slide. So in the experience section mentioned earlier, the great thing about this area is you can select that badge or the symbol, logo, if you will, of that organization or company. In this example, it is the Air Force. And so you can see then when you build out your experience, similar to a resume, it kind of tracks that with the years spent in that particular organization. Do not leave out volunteer experiences. You could get a great contact or a connection through that piece as well. All right, next slide. So here's some great examples of Air Force Army, how it lists out the experiences in chronological order. And so then it's just a blurb, right? Just a clean narrative format to explain and express what accomplishments you may have had. And slide. So what's your story? That's really a great place for LinkedIn, right? To talk about your experiences, what your passions are. You heard Samantha talk about her passions. That's all throughout her profile, and she lives and breathes that. So she brings that to her LinkedIn profile as well. This is a place to share what your guiding principles are and any nuggets of information you can share along the way with others. Great enhancement to the resume and even interviews, right? Okay, next slide. So recommendations. A lot of people are gun shy when it comes to reaching out for recommendations, and you don't have to be. So I suggest getting 3 recommendations. Pretty easy to start with somebody you've worked for, right? Somebody you've worked with, and then someone you've helped. 3 recommendations will get you a complete profile, and it looks great. We always are interested to see what other people have to say. It adds validity and it adds value and a bonus to those who are searching for qualified candidates. When you have a great recommendation from somebody, it just adds that credit, if you will. But don't stop there. As soon as you reach out and get those recommendations, then it's your turn. You give one, you give one. So send somebody else a recommendation too. All right, next one, next slide. Jobs. So this is really a great piece, and this is where Ray and Samantha are really going to shed some more insight. But let's talk about how LinkedIn can link you with potential employers. All right, next slide. So the jobs icon located on your screen is where you would go to click, and you can conduct a search, basic search there for jobs. What is important to keep in mind is how your profile is set up and what those keywords are. And that is the SEO results, the search engine optimization results that happen as a result of what you have talked about in your profile. All right. And so this becomes a passive way to search for those jobs, because those jobs will end up coming to your profile. Go ahead, next slide. So here's an at the top on your desktop, that's where it's located. I believe on your iPhone, it's located down at the bottom part of the profile. Next slide. And so here's an example of what you might see when you pull up those jobs. And then you can keep track of, is it relevant to what I'm searching for? And do I need to tweak somewhere else? Set those searches and settings. You'll definitely want to customize those to meet your goals. Next slide. And there is a way to apply through LinkedIn. There's an easy apply, and then there's an apply choice for some of those positions that will take you to their company's website to complete the application process. Next slide. So here are some professional networks to consider when you're starting off to grow your network. I do have LinkedIn Mill City right there. That is Ray and Samantha's organization. So I definitely encourage you guys to search them out and connect with them. Lots of veteran networks and opportunities to get connected with veteran groups as well. Next slide. So here's the website you will want to join when you want the premium account. So that website is where you would go. You'll answer some prompted questions, and then you can access your 1 year free of premium. And it's for spouses too. Next slide. So it's up to you how you want to choose to use your LinkedIn. Growing your network, searching for employment, or perhaps just leveraging for business and professional networking. Completely up to you. Here's just some tips for you to do while you are building that complete profile. Customizing your URL, use it on that resume. Have a complete profile with the industry keywords to help you meet your goal. List your skills, get 3 professional recommendations at a minimum, and give recommendations. Upload published articles, websites, share industry tips and information. And most importantly, this is where the magic happens, is when you connect with others and you begin to engage and participate. That's really where it lies on LinkedIn. So that's just the basic overview. I think, is that it? We have one more slide? Yep. And so now I'm going to turn it over to Ray and Samantha, and they will take it to the next level and share with you what is seen on the other side of LinkedIn when recruiters are searching out for quality candidates. So, you ready?
Perfect. Thank you, Amy. Great presentation and slides. And it's actually a great segue to our slides and our presentations. So I'm pretty much going to talk about what I've done and Sam what she's done as a candidate and what we look for as recruiters. I like to share this first one because, doubt kills more dreams than failure ever will. Like I said, I transitioned from the Air Force November 2015. It was rough, definitely rough, not just physically, but mentally. And then, as I started getting jobs, I lost a couple contracts. So doubt started creeping in. But there's one thing that I kept in mind, this is just temporary. This is temporary. And then as long as I keep on plugging away, as long as I keep on paying forward, I think good things will come full circle. So next slide. And as Amy was saying, our background is something we're passionate about, Sam and I. So we created the Key Mentor Group. Currently, we have about 168 the Key mentors with this organization that we created, and it's all across different organizations, different companies, different levels of title, and it's all over the world too. So it's definitely a great opportunity for you to connect with folks that you want to talk to, or mentorship, or if you want like a referral within the company. And as you can see, my title under my name, I'm a global lead technical recruiter for Lockheed Martin. I'm also a military relations person for or within a team for Lockheed Martin. At the same time, I also am a co-founder for LinkedIn Mo-City, co-founder for the Key Team Domingo, and I absolutely love giving back, paying forward, just like Sam. And as you can see, see Sam's title and everything there. She's actually done the same thing to brand herself. This will give the opportunity for recruiters to look at my profile and see exactly what I do and what I'm passionate about. Sam, you have anything to add in the slide?
Yes. So I can't even begin to impress upon you the importance of having a strong headline. So I'm so happy that you covered that. And Amy, that was a phenomenal presentation. You covered all of the nitty gritty of what LinkedIn is at the basics, and then highlighted some awesome call outs. Your headline. So essentially, as a recruiter, let's say I'm sitting outside and I'm like, let me go and do some sourcing, or let me go and look for candidates on, say it's on my phone, right? I'm going to see your profile picture. If you have it public, I'm going to see your headline. If I do a search and I'm looking for those with a TSSCI clearance, I typically will put that in the search bar and I'll get a list of people, even on LinkedIn Recruiter. But I'm going to be looking at your headline first as I start pulling through those or combing through those different profiles. So your headline absolutely does need to state what it is that you want to specialize in. Say if you're pivoting in your career, you'll want to put it there. I would definitely list, if you have a clearance, an active clearance, I would ensure that you really take advantage of that prime real estate. And in addition to that, I love that Amy brought up a customized URL. I have IT Recruiting Ninja in my customized URL. So it doesn't have to, it can be your name, it could be something, but definitely make sure when you start to set up the I guess the what's the right word? The I want to say the bones, like the skeleton of your profile, pay special attention to your headline, and those little specific things like the URL and the background picture at the top. The key is something that we did create, so super passionate about it. I could also have put a picture up there for AWS. Typically, folks will either use like their employer, some kind of employer branding as their headline, or a scene that defines themselves, like the one that Maxine had in her background with the glitter. So definitely take advantage of that. Trying to think if there's anything else that can come straight from my head right now, but I think that's what I got for now.
Perfect. Thank you, Sam. Next slide. And what I try to do is I pretty much try to flow down exactly how you would see it on your laptop or desktop as far as LinkedIn. So this is very important, definitely important. If you're open to new opportunities, definitely click on open to, right? And it'll give you a drop down menu. It'll let you select what titles or job titles you're looking for or going towards, right? Because what I'm going to do is towards I think towards the end of the slides, I'm going to let you know how exactly we look at when we have LinkedIn Recruiter and when we're looking for or sourcing for potential candidates, right? So definitely important, this portion right here. So open to, click on it, and then it'll let you know what you could put, and it allow you to select the titles and stuff, or type in titles. Sam, you have anything to add in this portion?
Yes, oftentimes folks may hesitate to put open to or select that option because they don't want their current employer, say you're a military spouse, you're going to be PCSing, they don't want their current employer or the recruiters for that organization to see that they are open to new opportunities. Know that you can select the option where your organization can't see. It kind of makes you private and under the radar. They can't see that you're actively looking and what you're open to. So you do have that ability to maintain privacy if you are um, searching for a new opportunity.
No, great point, Sam. Definitely great point. Next slide. So this right here, I actually just basically snipped it and pasted it. So that way you can see exactly what I did for my about. And what I did was I want to stay in like talent acquisition, like recruiting, sourcing. So what I did was I actually just physically put how many years of experience I have with talent acquisition experience. Because prior to being a recruiter for the Air Force, I was an electrician, I was a cop, but I didn't put it in my about because I don't want to go back as a cop. I don't want to be, I don't want to go back as an electrician. I want to stay in talent acquisition. So that's what I did, right? 17 is talent acquisition experience, 10 plus years of talent development experience. And as a recruiter, this allows us to see what your experiences or what you're trying to get into or you want to stay in, right? And I actually broke it down for, let's say a recruiter was looking at my profile. I mean, they see how many years of experience I have. They see what technical roles I've recruited for. They see the applicant tracking systems that I've used: Brastring, Workday, Taleo, Fox, iCIMS, Avature, Afris, Afris TF, and also the sourcing tools and also techniques that I've utilized throughout the experience that I do have. So they see it, they see all of it, right? And to be honest with you, my last 4 jobs that I've gotten, it's all from LinkedIn. Folks looked at my LinkedIn, they reached out to me, they connected with me, and then that's where I pretty much got the opportunities, right? Sam, as far as the bout, do you have anything to add?
Yeah, so this was a learning lesson for us as we became more comfortable with LinkedIn, even as recruiters. Sometimes you don't know how to utilize that prime real estate, but when you start to hunt for talent, not only do you look at the headline, you grab into or you jump into the about, and that gives you a good idea of what that person's looking for and what their background is. Ray's approach. I haven't looked at mine in a minute. I probably need to go in there. I told him I was like, I need to go in there and clean up my profile. Ray's approach is definitely one highly recommended because it gives the recruiter everything they need right there on your profile. It's kind of like the summary section on your resume or your objective statement at the very top. Always recommending tailoring it to the jobs that you want or the opportunities that you're looking for. So if the job description, basic qualification says you need 17 plus years of talent acquisition experience, that you're going to add that into your summary or highlight that in the top of your profile. Old school resume writing, I think it was, putting your qualities, like your soft skills, excellent communicator, change maker, like all of those fancy words, but they're so broad. As recruiters, we want the meat, we want the nitty gritty. So highly recommend you utilizing your about section to showcase the main highlights of your experience that you to point, like, I guess, tailored towards the career that you want, not necessarily the career that you've had. So I know for us with technical sourcing and recruiting, the reason why Ray has all of those positions there is those are considered hard to find or typically are passive talent. So as an employer, they're looking for tech talent that or technical recruiters that have recruited Linux administrators or cleared cloud engineers or cyber developers. So that lets a prospective employer know that he is experienced and skilled in these different job profiles. ATS experience for recruiting is very important as well. Being comfortable with new technology, being able to learn that technology and sourcing tools quickly. And so that's why those are highlighted on his profile. Another piece that is important for those that are employed by a company, yet they do a lot of volunteerism, is to mention that everything shared on your profile is your personal opinion, not the opinion of your organization. That's extremely important if you're very involved, like in the volunteer space as well, or you're posting content that like for me, I like to comment on posts. Like I'll be like commenting for the recruiters in my network or commenting for male spouses in my network, so then those their posts are amplified, and more often than not, it may like many times they are not. It's not Amazon Web Services that I'm sharing. So I mean, I always share AWS, but my point is, I want to see our community competitively employed, just like Ray and just like many within this space and leading this call. So, I definitely recommend having a disclaimer so that your opinions are clear and that your opinions, not your company's. So this is a great example.
Yeah, and what I've done is I've talked to a lot of different recruiters, when I was looking, and I asked them, I basically asked them, what drew you to my profile? What is it? What part of my profile did you like, right? And I also got feedback for them. And what I did was I combined everything that they gave me and everything, and I basically put it on my LinkedIn, right? And my LinkedIn continues to evolve. It's going to continue to evolve. The stuff that I've learned, the stuff that I need to tweak. So I'm going to continue to tweak it as time moves on. And like what Sam was saying, this definitely continued to evolve because like I say, like a month ago, it wasn't like this. It was completely different. So I definitely try to tweak it, get better at it. And so that way it matches with my resume also. Next slide, please. So featured, you have the ability to set your feature and what you want to set your feature as far as your LinkedIn. And whenever we're looking at LinkedIn, right, there's an option to where it shows feature and you can actually reorder it however you want to, and I'll let you know exactly what I'm passionate about. I basically shared Mill City Meetup, the key, and I'm also like virtual events that I've done. I also have a couple featured post about when I was doing a presentation for Lockheed Martin. So it's all on there. So when we check out your LinkedIn and review your LinkedIn as a recruiter, we want to see what you're passionate about. We want to see what you're involved with and to see if you're actually a fit for a possible position, right? So this definitely allows recruiters to see what you're passionate about and what your experience is. Sam, anything to add?
Yes. So in addition to that, as a recruiter, if I'm hunting for talent, oftentimes I will pin it right up there at the top under my featured. That makes it easier for others if they come to my profile or they heard about a position that I had open, for them to be able to go right to that position. Another thing is again, yes, it can showcase your passions. You can favor or feature your own articles that you've written. All of the content that you share on LinkedIn or the content that you interact with helps a recruiter see what your passions are, what your interests are. For example, for me, I recruit for not only experience related to what we're looking for a position, but I look heavily at potential because I work with a technical apprenticeship program. And so oftentimes if I can't figure out like, did you finish your degree? What kind of like development experience do you have? Are you um, have you created projects? Do you have a website that you've built? Things like that. I'll oftentimes go to your LinkedIn so I can get a feel for you. Same thing when it comes to like passive recruiting. If passive meaning the candidate may not be looking, or that prospect, as we would say, may not be actively looking, but I'm courting them. I'll look at your LinkedIn and see what you're interested about. And when we have a conversation, I'll bring that up. For example, I just had a conversation last week, and she had written like this individual is very passionate about diversity, equity, and inclusion, and it was very apparent on her profile because she had featured panels that she sat on, but also she had featured a children's storybook line that she had published, and it was buried a little deeper, but that gave me a talking point, kind of like when you're going to go talk to, or new commanders coming on board and you search their bio to get an idea of who they are and what their background is. It's a similar thing with LinkedIn. You can go in and you can dig in a little deeper to get to know someone, and that also helps you with conversation starting. So if you just added them and you're looking for something to connect with them on, it may not be their LinkedIn feed, but I would go through their featured. And so on the flip side of that, as a candidate or as someone that is exploring new opportunities, you'll want to make sure that that showcases your interests, not just for what you've had the opportunity to do in your experience, but what you would like to do. So this one's key, and it's a great way to showcase, uh, what you want in your career and future. So definitely pay attention to featured. And I was so happy when they built this, or introduced this new feature to LinkedIn.
No, I totally agree. And when I was building my LinkedIn, I knew there's something missing, and I wanted to have a better brand. I wanted to present myself a lot better. So what I started doing was I started reviewing other folks' LinkedIn, right? The ones that's active on LinkedIn, so that way I could actually be a more competitive candidate when recruiters are looking at my profile. So that's what I did. I started looking at other folks' profile, and as an introvert, I'm 100% introvert, right? As an introvert, I had the ability to look at other profiles without me even talking to certain folks, right? So that helped me out build my profile, my LinkedIn, and I just basically combined things, and it's been working out. So it's definitely been working out big time. Next slide. Oh, go ahead, Sam.
Oh yeah, no. And another thing to keep in mind too, if you know you're going to be interviewing for a role, um, look up who the recruiter is. If you have any names, look
Yes.
up the recruiter, look up who the hiring manager is, those that'll be in the interview. You typically find them on LinkedIn. Not everyone's active, but you can typically find them on LinkedIn, and that'll provide you with talking points, and it'll also show that you've done your research pre-interview, and we like that.
And this one here just basically shows your activity. So I actually look at this also to see how active a candidate is, and then how they comment, or if they could be a possible fit within the company. As you can see, I see, hey Grant, send me your resume, right? So this is someone I know. He's looking for a job. I let him know, hey, send me your resume. And then Sam sent shared a post, and I said, this is absolutely awesome. It was a video, and then it also shows you how many followers you have. Like right now, I currently have like 33,000 plus followers, because of the stuff that I've done, with the community, the stuff I share, the content I share. So this is definitely important also. And we have the ability to see what you comment. Just to let you know that we have the ability to see what you comment. So stay positive. Definitely stay positive, because it's crazy how many companies there are, but we all talk. We all talk as recruiters too, and then we also refer. We also refer potential candidates with each other. So we definitely try to help each other out, because not everybody's going to be able to join AWS. Not everybody's going to be able to join Lockheed Martin. So that's what we try to do. We try to open up possible opportunities for potential candidates for each other. So anything to add in this one, Sam?
Absolutely. So if you're having a bad day, right? Or you're getting frustrated with your job hunt, which is totally human. It's normal, especially when you're pushing out resumes and you're messaging and not getting a response back. Um, don't air it on LinkedIn, because we do look, as recruiters, we do spend the time and we will look, before a conversation. So just put your phone away, or put pull up your notepad, and if you have an iPhone, in your phone, and type out your thoughts. But really, I can't say this like strongly enough. Ensure that if you're having a bad day, you're not posting. And it sounds like common sense, but if you fall into that deep dark place, which is our family has been in when we were looking for employment after Ray got out of the Air Force, and we moved to Mill City, USA. When you get in that mode, it can be easy to just be like, I disagree with you, and blah 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 blah, and that's not true. Or how you say in message can either make or break a recruiter reaching out to you. If Does that make sense?
No, it does. It
Trying to
does.
think of
'Cause
exact examples, but
no,
there's been a couple, and we've seen them, and we'll message that person and say, just so you know, especially if they're transitioning out of the military, and they're still kind of learning the ropes. we'll reach out and let them know, because we do talk to other recruiters, because we know I can't hire everyone at Amazon Web Services, nor can Ray hire everyone at Lockheed Martin. But our goal is and always has been to ensure that our military community is competitively employed and not just put in a role or left out there alone in hunting. So
Yep.
Can't reiterate it enough. We do look and we do talk.
Yep. And I've been on both sides to where I'm lucky to have Sam, because I'm like, I can't believe this person just did this. And then I'd like type and I'm like, Sam, check this out. She's like, no, don't do that. Don't do that. Right. And I've been the other side to where somebody reached out to me like, oh my gosh, I can't believe they said something like this about, so-and-so company. Right. So we all talk. I'm like, oh my gosh, can't believe he posted this. Right. And I've also commented somebody back. I'm like, hey, just want to let you know, this is my recommendation. I recommend you deleting this post, because we do see it. Other folks see it. So, because like I said, we do talk with each other. And the main thing is just stay positive. Definitely stay positive. And as hard as it is, so sometimes to stay positive, just try your best not to air anything out there. And my main recommendation is do not burn any bridges. Don't burn any bridges, because there's been plenty of times where I talked to a recruiter in the past. They reached out to me. They're like, and I'm thinking, wait, this is the entry level. This requires no experience, right? But don't burn any bridge, because eventually they might have a position that's available for you in the future that matches your experience and what you're looking for, and they could reach out to you. So don't burn any bridges.
I agree.
Okay, perfect.
Yeah.
Next slide.
Oh, I remember.
Oh, good,
Okay.
good.
Another thing to add on to this, and it's a little outside of LinkedIn, but when you go into interview for a role, don't talk negatively about your prior employer. Even if your boss was the meanest boss and they were like one of those bosses on the Horrible Boss movie, like, don't talk negative about a prior employer. I have had some serious rock star, strong talent that have applied for roles. They met and exceeded the expectations for my hiring managers. But all it took was a couple sentences for the hiring manager to say, you know what, they killed it technically on the technical screen, but they're not a good fit for our organization. And it will come out that they talked bad about a prior employer or a prior company. So just keep that, like, again, your notes on your phone, just jot it in there, or write it down. But remain positive in your communications through interview, through LinkedIn, because just like we can see if you're not, we can see if you are. And it's amazing to see posts where folks are like, hey, I created this LinkedIn group. If you are wanting to learn how to code in Java, or one like MilSpouse Coder Group, I love following them on Facebook and on LinkedIn. And I've recruited quite a few software developers, technical account managers, and solution architects from that group itself. So just know you can use it to your benefit, but just proceed with caution.
And I
Sounds
agree.
common sense, but I promise you it happens.
Yes, no, it definitely does. Definitely does. And I know Amy covered this portion, so you can actually also share like photos with each experience. So in this case, the very most recent one is my current role. I basically put photos on what I've done, events that I've done, or I've actually led and created. And then also my current stretch assignment with Lockheed Martin Military Relations. So it basically shows you what I've done and what I'm currently doing, as far as the co-founder for Team Domingo, or co-founder for The Key, and co-founder for LinkedIn Mill City. And I added photos again. So definitely personalize it, because we definitely look. So anything added in this page, Sam, or slide?
No, this is actually one of my favorite things. Like, I often will go back and reflect, especially during COVID, because we used to do quite a bit of in-person events here at JBSA. It's a great way to highlight things you're passionate about. Maybe you're volunteering. You volunteered on behalf of your organization for a food drive. Posting those things gives recruiters an inside look into who you are beyond just the words that are on your profile. So definitely recommend plugging those in, like Amy leading this panel today, right? Or this presentation. This could be something that she could post there, and it shows that she is a SME with LinkedIn, and showcases the cool stuff that she does. So I love this, and I think it's underutilized.
Yep. And just to let everybody know, my LinkedIn, this is pretty much directly from my LinkedIn. It's not perfect. It's going to continue to evolve. I'm going to continue to work on it and make it better. But I am trying, and like I said, I'm trying to make sure that everything's in there of what I've done, what I'm passionate about, and what I love to do, right? And this portion, education, definitely important. Definitely important. You don't have to, because I've seen folks put their high school where they graduated from. You don't have to put where you graduated from high school, right? But in this case, I'm currently going through LSU for my master's, completed my bachelor's through Columbia Southern, and I do have a couple community college at Air Force associate's degrees. So it shows a recruiter that as far as what education I do have. So anything to add in this slide, Sam?
No.
Okay.
There can be some ambiguity sometimes with when folks will update their education. Like, for example, Ray has Bachelor of Business Administration and Management, and he doesn't have any dates there. If I'm looking at your resume and maybe you're a year out from graduating, I'll look and see on your LinkedIn if you have graduated. So this would tell me it's safe to assume that he graduated and he's pursuing his master's degree because he has the end date projected. But I agree with Ray. You don't need to put your high school diploma on there. I wouldn't age yourself. Not that it matters, but it could.
Yeah, and that's why I
So
don't have the dates. I don't have the dates for like my CCEF and also Columbia Southern. The only reason why I have the date for LSU is because I won't complete my MBA till the 2023. I'm trying to complete it sooner, but that's approximate date. Yep. And I do see a question. It says basic how do I customize my profile URL? Great question, because it's actually going to be in one of the slides. I'll show you how to do it. Next slide, please.
I also shared, it's a really great article, one that Michael Quinn had written where he kind of breaks all of that down too. It's the ultimate LinkedIn cheat sheet. So I just shared that in the chat as well.
Okay, perfect. And then right here, you'll have the ability to put down your licenses, certifications that you have. So I'll basically put down all my certification that I've had in the Air Force. And also, if you do have licenses, add it, definitely add it, because we do check.
Mm-hmm.
Next slide. So skills and endorsement. This is definitely a great tool that's part of LinkedIn. You could actually, like myself, I actually put recruiting, human resources, strategy. And what I've done was I actually put down stuff that I experience that I have or what I'm passionate about. And then the best way to do it to get endorsed actually is endorse somebody, and then they'll most likely endorse you back. So that's what I learned, right? In the beginning stage when I was creating my profile and LinkedIn profile. So next slide. Recommendations. I'm going to be upfront with you. I am guilty about this. I'm so passionate about giving back, right? But I'm so guilty of asking. So guilty of asking, right?
Not asking.
So yeah, as far as asking for recommendations, right?
Oh.
So I only have like 1 or 2 recommendations because I don't ask, right? Because like I said, I'm guilty of it. So definitely ask for recommendations. If you're giving a presentation, workshops, or giving back or anything, ask for recommendations and let folks know if they're open to giving recommendations. But I've also had folks send me like a blurb, like a paragraph, and then what I did was I just basically tweaked a little bit, and then I would post it on the LinkedIn as far as recommendation. Sam, anything to add?
Yes, I'm also very guilty of asking for recommendations. I don't know why. I mean, so we're being a little hypocritical on that one, but I'm glad Amy had brought it up.
Yes.
It is important because it does provide those that are new to you and just looking at your profile. I do look at recommendations when I'm recruiting people. I'm turning red right now because I'm guilty.
I do too.
That is an area that we could also improve upon ourselves
Yep.
in giving recommendations and asking for them. Yeah, but so I did. There is a question in the chat from H. Aaron Chai. Please let me know if I said your name wrong. I apologize. But she or he had said, I'm worried about putting a lot of information on LinkedIn and other job sites for fear of spams and or other illegitimate recruiters or fake job announcements. Any comments or advice? So I started typing this out, but that's absolutely understandable. to be cautious, because the reality is there are people that will spam you, and there are illegitimate recruiters out there, or people posing as recruiters that want to contact you, and have you, have packages shipped to you, and then you ship it somewhere else and some other weird stuff. If it doesn't feel right, you don't have to engage, but you can block. Like, say if you get a message and you don't feel right about it, you can block and you can report it, which I highly recommend doing. If you have your profile set up, you can also set privacy settings to where you can hide your picture. You can hide your last name. You can hide your contact information. So then that way you can kind of control what is provided to your network. And then they would have to add you and connect with you directly in order to be able to see the details on your profile. If you do choose to do that, I do recommend, again, that headline is going to be extremely important for you, because if you are blocking your page outside of your connections, LinkedIn Recruiter, we can still see it, I believe, but general audience will not. But unfortunately, people spamming kind of comes with the territory, especially like for us with having the key in LinkedIn Mill City. I get a lot of folks that'll reach out and be like, do you need investors in your business, or do you need a business accountant, and blah, blah, blah. And I have to state, these actually aren't, they're pure volunteer. They are not a business or company that we're trying to earn income from, or find an accountant for, or find new technology to utilize for it. So you just, you control who you connect with. As you broaden out your network, you can also control the privacy on your profile.
Perfect. Thanks, Sam. Next slide, please. So right here, interest, we do check, what you're interested in. Definitely follow the company that you're applying for or about to interview, because, I learned the mistake of not doing my research after, I get an interview locked in. So definitely research the company and follow the company that you're trying to get into or connect with. So next slide.
I almost laughed on that one.
Yep.
One day, like Ray did have a very funny example.
I did.
Of something that had happened. Do you want to tell him really quick, Ray? Just so.
Yeah. So it's I was a military brat, and then joined the Air Force for 20 years. So I had no clue what Frost Bank was. No clue, right? So I had an interview with Frost Bank, and the only thing I saw was Frost. So during the interview, they asked me, so what interests you with Frost? So I talked about different like slushy flavors, cola, cherry, watermelon. So that's what I talked about. After I talked about that, the recruiter's like, okay, thanks for connecting with me. And that was that. And then I started researching. I'm like, what the heck is this, right? Kind of find out it's Frost Bank. So it was my fault. Didn't do my research. Did not do my research. So I should have done my research. And now I know, why I didn't get selected for the position. So yeah.
And we definitely notice every Frost Bank now.
Yes.
Everywhere we go.
We did.
But and with that stated, though, when you start interviewing, say you're transitioning and you joined right out of high school, or if you're a mill spouse that has been home with the kiddos, as you raise them for the first 5 years or whatnot, or have had gaps of employment, know that nerves are normal. And just know if a door closes, then it wasn't meant to be. Go into that interview, keep it conversational, clear, concise, bring data and results with you. That's extremely important, especially for Amazon interviews. But don't be too hard on yourself. If it doesn't work out, wasn't meant to be. And one day you'll have stories like Ray's to chuckle about, because it happens. But it is key to always research the company, and know what attracted you to them in the first place and why you want to work for them, because I can guarantee you in an interview they will probe for that. And if you don't know anything about the company, then they'll wonder why you are interviewing for that company in the first place. But also in following them in LinkedIn Recruiter, like the organizations you're interested in LinkedIn Recruiter, we can see those that are following your company. And that tells us, okay, they're interested, especially if we're engaging passive talent. So just a little tidbit there.
Yep. And this is the question as far as how to edit your profile URL. So you'll see the option edit your public profile URL. Just click on that. And like Sam said, she let you know what her profile URL is. Mine is RSDA Domingo, pretty much Ray, Sam, Dialano, Anaya, Domingo, right? So that's my URL, nice and simple. So that way you can actually just copy it, paste it in somebody's the comment or on your resume. So just keep it simple. So hopefully that answers as far as how to edit your URL. So next slide, please. So this one right here, it shows you like the invitations that you have, connections that you have, or folks that's trying to reach out to you. I continuously have to like disconnect with people in order to accept new invites, right? So that's why I have like 224 right now, just sitting there. But it lets you know like contacts, people you follow, groups, how many groups you follow, events, pages that you follow, and how many hashtags you follow. So this is definitely helpful also. Another thing that I forgot to bring up was don't take anything personal. If you reach out to a recruiter or you reach out to anybody on LinkedIn, if they don't get back with you, do not take it personal. It's probably because they probably didn't get a chance to get back with you, mess you back, or if you don't get selected for a position, don't take it personal. You could be like the perfect candidate, right? Perfect candidate, but there's a lot of stuff that you don't know what's going on in the background, right? And that's probably why you didn't get selected. My recommendation is just keep on plugging away, move forward on to the next, and just keep on applying and keep on networking, keep on asking for referrals. Sam?
I'm glad you brought that up because that's extremely important, especially, for our mental health, right? When we're actively looking for employment, if we've applied and we're interviewing and it comes down to you and someone else and you're not getting that offer. Know that someone else could be an internal. They could have been an employee referral. They could have had experience with some special skill or technology, for example, that you hadn't had the opportunity to work with before. It could be a million different things. It could be they really like that person's located in California and you're located in Texas, and they really need somebody that is in California. It could be a million different things. So do not feel bad if you're the runner up a little bit. All of us have that experience here and there within our careers, but just don't take it personal. Another thing is messaging. 2 years ago, I could respond to everyone that had messaged me. No, probably about 3. And as the years have gone by, I mean, Ray and I would be sitting next to each other on the couch, and for a few hours on a Sunday, we would be responding to everybody that reached out. The more active someone is on LinkedIn, the larger their connection and their groups, or the more active they are overall, it can limit their capacity to be able to respond to messages. I can't tell you how many times I've had outreaches and they're like, Sam, you didn't respond. And I'm like, I am so sorry. I get at least 30 to 40, sometimes 50 messages a day with outreaches. And I try to answer them when I am on, but I don't get to everyone. Just don't take that personal. If you see that they are at a virtual event or an in-person event, go and check it out, because that's when you get that firsthand experience or connection. That's what motivated us also to start LinkedIn Mill City for in-person networking, because we couldn't answer every message. Same with the key, introducing folks to mentors and running free virtual events. All of that became extremely important because we couldn't answer everyone that had reached out to us. So the idea is to build more leaders across our community that are wanting to reach back and either reach back and pull someone forward, or to pay it forward to ensure that we have enough folks out there that understand the military community and are building their careers and that can mentor you. So again, please don't take it personal if you don't get that job that you really want. When one door closes, another will open, I promise you. And then definitely, go, just like we as recruiters go where the talent is, you as a job seeker go where those recruiters are, those hiring managers or companies are as well.
Thanks, Sam. Next slide. Search bar, quick and easy. A lot of folks make it so hard on themselves on how to search or how to connect with folks. Piece of cake. Go on LinkedIn, go on search bar, put recruiter, Lockheed Martin, connect with those recruiters, right? If you have a primary, like must have company to work for, right? Use the search bar. Just put recruiter, the company you're trying to get into, and add those recruiters. Because majority of times we try. I mean, at least for myself, I try my best to share the jobs I'm actually actively recruiting for. that's a perfect opportunity for you to jump on it. You know, if you see a position that you qualify for and that recruiters recruiting for them, comment, reply, message them, and then this is going to be a definitely a great connect with an actual company and actual recruiter. Sam?
Mhm. You also want to add those that are in the job that you want, and those managing the people for the job that you want, at those companies as well. So not just the recruiters, you'll want to add everyone else. Another thing to keep in mind, which many do not know if they're transitioning out of the military, or they may, or mil spouses, you're constantly PCSing, maybe you're new to LinkedIn, is recruiters, like if someone were to reach out to me and they really wanted to come to AWS as a program manager. I don't recruit program managers, so I may not know who is recruiting that for that program manager out in Texas or in California or Florida or whatnot. So look at the recruiter and look at what they specialize in. So like for Ray and I, we're technical recruiters, so we recruit tech talent. I'm a military technical recruiter, so I recruit military talent for technical programs that I work on. But just know, like, don't get frustrated if you reach out to somebody who is recruiting for, I don't know, Ray, what's an example? Wyndham Hotels, and they are specifically recruiting marketing folks, and you want to find out about a VP role. Typically, then you're looking at executive recruiters that are recruiting for the level and the specialty that you're looking for. So just
Next slide, please. So this is it, the LinkedIn recruiter. This is what we see as recruiters. As a regular person that don't have access to this, you won't see this. This is how we search for talent, right? And that's why it's so important, that option to open to opportunities. Make sure that's turned on if you're looking for new opportunities, right? Because that's the very first thing that we look at whenever we're sourcing for talent, right? And I'll show you in a couple slides. So next slide.
also respond to in-mails and outreaches, even if you're not interested, because we also see how responsive you are. And typically we'll look for those that are following the company, that are responsive. They're kind of like the inactively looking, because they're like what we would call low hanging fruit. You know, they're ready to roll. It's obvious that they're open. So we're going to message typically them first, because we try not to spam folks, but some recruiters do.
And this is just an example of what I do personally, right? Whenever I'm sourcing talent from LinkedIn Recruiter, it's like a funnel, right? First thing, let's say I'm looking for a technical recruiter in San Antonio. So recruiter, and then next slide. And there's 1,561,000 recruiters, right? And then the main thing is, what I'm looking at is open to new opportunities, 188 841 open to new opportunities, because they have that option turned on. But I'm not going to reach out to that. So I'm going to look deeper, right? This time, I'm going to look at, I believe I started looking at recruiter, and you know what? Next slide.
That was job title and
Yep.
location.
Location, yeah. So I'll put job title and location San Antonio. Now it's slimmed down even more. And now I even put IT recruiter for technical recruiter. So there's 36 recruiters in San Antonio that are IT recruiters looking for new opportunities. So this is my target audience that I'm going to reach out to. There's 36 potential candidates ready to look for, you know, a new opportunity. So these are the ones that I'm going to reach out to. So that's pretty simple as far as how LinkedIn Recruiter is utilized, right? Another thing is what Amy was covering and what I talked about earlier is the skills. Make sure you add skills, because that's another component that we could look at also in a search bar. The specific skills component, we'll put it in a search bar, and then it'll also pop up. Next slide.
Also, if your profession and your job title, like if there's multiple titles for what you do, pepper that, make sure that's throughout your LinkedIn profile. Because if we search for, like Ray may look for an IT recruiter, I may search for a technical recruiter, so, or information technology recruiter. So to make your profile more searchable, just ensure that if there are alternate titles, you're utilizing them. Another thing is, if superintendent, commander, flight chief, you want to change those titles to the civilian equivalent, and do your research. on what the civilian equivalent is. And when you're reaching out to people at the companies that you want, you can look back in their work history and their previous job titles. You can look at veterans at that company that may have been in the same specialty that you were in the military to get some ideas on different job titles. But you'll want to make sure that it's there, because if it's not, especially if you have recruiters that have never been in the military community and don't understand what a commander does, you can ensure that your specialization or your job title is clear and searchable for them and translated.
Perfect. Thanks, Sam. And that pretty much concludes the presentation.
Any questions? Don't be shy. We won't bite, I promise.
Seems like there's no questions at this time. So, I mean, I just want to take the time to thank, Miss Manis, Mr. Parchman, and Ray and Sam. I appreciate you guys coming out to provide this type of professional development session to our enterprise. I know a lot of times people have been asking me, how do you stay connected? How do you transition? I mean, I honestly don't know how much longer I'm going to have in the military, but I know it's going to end someday. And many of us have to start looking at those extended opportunities. And I think LinkedIn is one of the best ways to go about it. I definitely know I need to go ahead and redo my LinkedIn account for the most part, because there's a lot of goodness that just came out of this session. To the team and to everybody else, like I said before, we have been recording this. So shortly after the briefing's done, we will shoot the recording out in the next couple days or so to the entire enterprise, so they would have it, at a click of a button, so they can actually view it. Special guest, do you guys have anything that you guys would like to say?
Absolutely humbled to be here. And definitely, Amy knows our story. We've had many different conversations over the years now, right? It just feels like forever since we have seen each other due to COVID and all being virtual and all that goodness. But always an honor, and know that when you're exploring your opportunities and the potential careers that you want to do when you get out, it's a lot easier to connect with people when you don't have an immediate ask, because once the, I guess, the tires hit the road, or whatever the saying is, there's that feeling of like, I have to make this work for my family. That can seriously make the whole process much more difficult for you, because you're like, I need a job tomorrow, or I get out in a month. I need something now. It's very important to start exploring opportunities well before you transition out, and building the relationships that you need with the companies or professionals at the companies that you're targeting well before you actually need to hit them up.
Yeah, and
apparently my space bar. But
yeah,
go ahead, Ray.
It's crazy because I'm almost been retired for almost 6 years, right? But I'm still I feel like I'm still learning. I'm still transitioning, right? One recommendation I do have, as a military member, try your best to also help your significant other or military spouse, right? Help elevate each other and have them create LinkedIn also, because this will give them the opportunity to brand themselves also.
Yes. And you're on the journey together. I cannot reiterate that enough. Yes, we both do the same thing as technical recruiters, but I haven't always been a technical recruiter. That passion came from a terrible transition and realizing we need more change makers and advocates across organizations that are being heard or are talking to hiring managers and saying we should consider military experience as a sub for a degree requirement, or those kind of things. We need advocates across multiple industries and organizations that understand our community. But one of the biggest, we could tell you a million stories, but one of the biggest words of advice from us, we've been married for 23 years now, is to make sure that you're doing this journey together. If there's a virtual networking event, don't be shy, jump on and have them sit next to you. Or like Ray and I, we're in different, he's upstairs and I'm downstairs in my office. Jump on together. You can, if you're uncomfortable, you just hide your camera. You don't have to say anything if you don't want to, but it's important to go on that journey together, because I think Ray will say it, and he said it many times before. He did not know how hard it was to find employment when you PCS, like, or imagine how I felt finding employment when we PCS to a new place. And it would often take me at least like 3-6 months to find something. He didn't fully understand what that was like until he got out and he was looking for a job himself. So that partnership is imperative. If we hadn't figured it out, we were close to divorce during transition because we were speaking a different language, and we weren't communicating, and he was hunting and I was hunting, but we weren't on the same page. So definitely, and also talk to your kids. Your kids are an important part of your family unit, right? And oftentimes, like my dad, and the way that we did it as an overseas military brat, is I would find out we were PCSing a month before we were going to go. Where I think Ray, you had a similar situation, but oftentimes folks will prepare their kids a few months out before they transition. So get them involved and engaged as well. Had they not been, when Ray was unemployed and we were struggling, it would have been even more difficult. We would sit down and have family conversations and stuff. So, yep. Definitely recommended.
Thank you so much for having us.
No problem. I know, to let everybody know, Mr. Parchman, he did put his email address in the chat. So if you would like the slides, please send him a message, and he'll be more than happy to see the slides that were covered here today. So if there is no more questions or no more, saved rounds to go around, we'll go ahead and conclude this PD session of the LinkedIn Professional Branding. I want to thank everybody for joining, and you guys enjoy your day.
Thank you very much. We look forward to the next one. Thank you so much.
Yes, ma'am.
Thank you very much.
Have a good week.
You too. There are a lot. Like 60, I think, is what I counted, and 52. Thank you, Master Sergeant. Senior Master Sergeant, right? I don't have my glasses.
No problem. We love working with you guys. It's going to be awesome.
Yeah. So we got to come up with the next one. I don't know what it's going to be.
Well, it's going to be something interesting. I think we have something already planned. I know Mr. Parchman, he wants to kind of continue down this road, which is great. So I think we're going to link up with him just to see, like, hey, where can we go next, and try to get something out before, probably, hopefully soon, something in the fall, most definitely.
Yes.
Sounds great.
Yep,
well, we got
always
a couple
great.
of, yeah, we have a couple of other events coming up that Ray and Samantha are also a part of. So they are a strong dynamic duo, and we're lucky to have them in our community. So I know you have a lot of members that are spread out around, right? They're all over.
Ma'am.
Yeah. So this makes it really unique and convenient to bring everybody together. So we appreciate you reaching out. All right. Well, I will let you go, and
No
have a great rest of your week and a beautiful weekend, and we'll stay in touch.
You too. Have a great one.
Thank you.
All right, sir, I'm gonna go ahead and get off unless you need me to stay on. I'll be more than happy to.